Hey guys, it's Julia, and today I'm going to be talking about 5 books that I wish I hadn't read. So first I want to say a little disclaimer. These books are books that I personally did not enjoy, though I do not believe that everybody is not going to enjoy these books. There are just little tidbits in these particular books that annoyed me or just rubbed me the wrong way, which made me just wish I hadn't read them. They are ones that I did push through and continue reading, which I am somebody who generally, when I find something that I just don't really care for in a book, I will put it down and just stop reading it because I don't want to waste my time when there's so many books on my bookshelf that I want to read. But sometimes when I get halfway through a book or almost all the way done with a book and then something turns me off to the book, I decide I'm just going to finish it and try to see if it redeems itself. But these particular books did not redeem themselves, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. So the first book that I'm going to talk about is actually one that I did buy the second book to, and I may eventually read the second book because the thing that bothered me is a thing of the past, and it is something that happened in the beginning of this book, and I pushed through it to the end of this book, and I don't think it's going to carry on into the second book, so we'll just see. So the first book is Frostblood by Ellie Blake. I didn't like the relationship between the two main characters in the beginning of the story. I thought it was a very unhealthy relationship, which I don't like, and I don't like to condone in young adult books. I think that as a writer, I feel like we should be promoting good, healthy relationships in YA books so that young readers don't try to model their own relationships off the bad relationships they see in books. So I didn't really like that, though I did like the idea of the story and the world that it was in and the powers that the characters possessed, and I think that maybe the second book could redeem the first book, but honestly, if I would have never read this book, I wouldn't have been missing anything in my life. Second book I'm going to talk about is The Forgetting by Sharon Cameron, and I have talked about this a few times before, and the reason why I didn't care for this book is I just thought it was too slow. The idea of the book, again, was really interesting, and I liked the idea of it, and it has this really cool idea of a world that forgets I think it's 12 years, every 12 years, but they keep these little books and write down the memories of the life that they're currently living, so after the forgetting, they can read their books and know what their lives are meant to be or what they've done in their life thus far. I just didn't like the pacing of this book. It was really boring up until the end, and when I say the end, I mean like the last 3 chapters, and then finally in the last 3 chapters it was really interesting. Now I didn't know that this was going to be a duology, but there is another book called The Knowing, and I didn't pick it up or have any interest picking it up because I just did not like this book. I also haven't really heard a lot about that book, so if you have read it and you did like it, or if you read it and you didn't like it, tell me your reasoning down below in the comments because I'd love to hear your thoughts on that book, because again, I haven't seen a lot of people talk about that book in particular, though I thought it was one that was kind of a highly anticipated book when it came out, which was when I first started BookTube. Okay, so the next book is one that I read for the BookTube book club a while ago, and we all agreed that we didn't like this book, and that was Flame in the Mist by Renee Adhia. I can't say it, I'm sorry. Flame in the Mist. And this one was kind of advertised as a Mulan retelling, though it's more set in Japan rather than, I mean, not more, it is set in Japan rather than China. And I just did not mesh well with the story. I thought it was everywhere. I didn't really like the characters in the story. It just was probably one of my least favorite reads of last year. And the second book is actually coming out. I think it's this month, or it already came out, or it's about to come out or something. And every time I see that book, I'm just like, because I just have no desire to read it, and the idea of reading it just rubbed me the wrong way. I think that a lot of people had mixed feelings, like either you really liked this book or you really did not like this book. So I will not be reading the second book, and I'm not really sure why I still have this book. I am a book hoarder, so that's why I don't throw away books that I don't like, but I did not like this. I don't have any desire to read the second book, and I'm gonna stop talking about it now. Okay, so the next book is one that I've recently read, and I didn't like it because I just felt like the story was, again, just like all over the place, and that was The Hazelwood by Melissa Albert, and I was really disappointed. I really had this idea in my mind that this was going to be a cool story when I first got it, and everybody was hyping it up. It was supposed to be this really really awesome book, but I did not like it at all. I just didn't like the main character. I didn't like how the story played out. It just, I don't know, it just, some of the stuff that happened didn't make sense to me. It just definitely was not my cup of tea. Though I have heard a couple people say that they really loved this book, so I don't know if maybe I was just missing something, but this is definitely one that I feel like if I hadn't read it, I wouldn't have been missing anything in my life. The last book I'm going to talk about is probably my least favorite book that one of my least favorite books that I've ever read, and that is The Blood Rose Rebellion. This is another one where the second book just came out a couple months ago, and I just couldn't even look at the book. Like, it was just the idea of reading it really just rubbed me the wrong way, and it's because there were she just like would randomly kiss random people at random times, and then she kissed her cousin, and that was weird, and then there was just some other things that I was just like, why did this happen? It has nothing to do with the story. It doesn't help push the story forward at all. So I was like, why am I still reading this? But I read a lot of it and was just like, I just need to finish it, and by the time I was done with it, I just felt exhausted. I believe this is one that put me into a reading slump. And last year when I went to Georgia to see my mom, I picked that book up and never again. Okay, so that is really it for the 5 books that I just wish I wouldn't have read. Again, I want to say that, like, I'm not saying that you shouldn't go pick up these books. I'm just saying that I personally did not enjoy these books, and if you did enjoy these books, that's great. I'm glad that you did, but, and also I'm not saying that I would never read a book written by these authors again. I believe that when you read an author you don't like, you should always try to read another book by them just to see if maybe it was that story in particular, or, you know, try to gauge if maybe that person's writing style doesn't mesh well with your writing style. I'm not trying to say anything bad about these authors at all. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to say that these are 5 books that I didn't enjoy, and I would love to hear your thoughts on them, and maybe point some things out to me that maybe I missed in these stories that could change my feelings a little bit, make me want to reread these books. I don't know. So that is really it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please like and subscribe if you're not already, and I will see you guys next time. Thanks so much for watching. Bye!